Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Boruto Manga Chapter review. This one's going to be for Chapter 66, which is called Do or Die. And I think for the first time in a while, we got just, I think, a really strong chapter that made some major moves in the story. Obviously, the cliffhanger from last week kind of did the same thing, but I think the result of that in this chapter was made for one of the more exciting chapters I think we've had in quite a while. Just with Kawaki and the karma mark and what he does, his kind of goals now that he has this power, and then I think it obviously has to always come down to the moment in a way, like between these two brothers effectively, and this plan that they'd come up with in case things went this way. And the cliffhanger here actually feels like one of the stronger cliffhangers that we've had, because within the last couple of chapters, we've had the tease of, is Boruto dying before? But the last one was very weak and that, like, oh, is he having a heart attack? Are the pills doing anything? But you knew they weren't going to do anything overly significant with it. And it was more meant to be, here's a really dramatic way to show that Momoshiki might be coming out. Here, though, they could go in so many directions now with this, in terms of, because of the way they've set up how the karma works, they could have Boruto just be dead for a while and resurrect him later because of the mechanics of the karma mark. Now, they'd have to retroactively explain that he's put the karma mark on someone. Now, they could do that by revealing that he's actually still like just about alive, and he implants the karma mark on someone just before he dies, and there's this sense that like he's dead for now but he can't come back. That'd be a pretty crazy thing to do with the main character, in terms of just, it would allow you to focus on so many other characters with Boruto out of the picture for a while, and then come back with Boruto later in like a huge moment. They could do the very simple thing of like just like Joe gone and he's back. But we'll get to more of that speculation later on when we go through the recap and sort of get to that section. We got a lot of, I think, solid action here, because effectively we saw Kawaki using the same powers that Ishiki does. That's how powerful the karma seems to be with Kawaki at this point. Naruto also has a pretty significant chapter here as well, because he has to deal with basically what is happening between his son and his new sort of like adopted son, and that he's not involved in a way in this decision that they've made together, but it affects him so heavily. So let's just jump in here and sort of go through sort of page by page. So we open up with the kind of Amado explanation of like, oh, you could get the karma back because take it for yourself, this new power, you want to protect the Hokage. In the form of a karma that's purely a weapon. So the choice is up to you, it's in your hands. And the explanation actually comes from Ada, and it's basically that, no, this isn't confirmed because we don't get it directly from Amado himself, but I guess Ada roughly knows why he would do it like this. He did what he needed to do while giving Kawaki the new arm, and basically did it in such a way where it will activate when Kawaki decides that he actually wants the power. So it was always there. He didn't have a choice of whether or not he wanted it or not, but it was there if he ever did make the decision to want the power. And he just had to get Kawaki to the point where he could be motivated to do that. Now, this is very interesting because I think we've had a bit of a roller coaster ride with Amado as a character, where he was really suspicious a bunch of chapters ago, and then they really cooled that down because of he let Kawaki make the choice and seemed to not do anything when he made the choice to not take it. But now they've revealed that, oh no, he did it anyway, with the expectation that later Kawaki would want it and so on. So Amado, the suspicious Amado thing comes back up again. We're still waiting on an explanation for a lot of that stuff, but it definitely it makes it interesting because I don't in general like this style of storytelling where you spent so many chapters like 5-6 months ago doing this arc with Kawaki of will he, won't he take this new power, and then he made his decision and it felt like set in stone that he made this decision. And now you've reversed it here by revealing that actually Amado did this thing. But because Amado is a suspicious character who has unique motivations, it it makes it feel a little bit more acceptable because it's actually adding intrigue to more than one character. So, and Code realizes that, oh, Amado must have used this fight here, to be the final push to awaken his power. Interestingly, they do have a little bit of sort of Shikamaru figuring things out here, where he realizes that, oh, Code is talking to someone. He has an ally somewhere, which they put that in there for a reason. I suppose everyone realizing that he has like Ada back at base is actually a kind of bit of a significant plot point. So then they get to revealing, I suppose, the extent to which Kawaki has the karma here, and it seems to be straight to this like second stage form. He even has the eye power that Ishiki had. Interestingly, Momoshiki does say it's not usually possible for a karma that is lost to manifest again. It must be Amado's doing. So just keep letting yourself be used by others until you get fed to the 10 tails. So Momoshiki is still very confident here, because I don't think he realizes the extent to which Kawaki has the power here. And I suppose this is what they're getting across here, is that Ishiki's whole plan was that he would be unstoppable if he was reborn in Kawaki, because Kawaki is the vessel. He is like, his body is specifically made to like fit the power of an Otsutsuki, and if he has the power of someone like Ishiki, it makes it even more incredible. So that's very intriguing that Kawaki is now using that power himself, and it really gets across that, oh, if Kawaki perfects this power, he is now the same level of threat effectively as Ishiki, more or less, if not more so. So he goes to use the power straight away of like making things appear from the kind of other dimension, the kind of shrinking, expanding power. Momoshiki dodges. We see the cubes come back into action here. And obviously the whole dynamic that they start to get across here is that Kawaki is fighting Momoshiki, or Boruto, really, really hard. And we start to move the dynamic more towards is like Naruto realizing like you're actually trying to like kill Boruto, and you're not really worried about like what happens to Shikamaru either, and what's going on here. And we're really seeing the dynamic again, which is that the person Kawaki cares about most is Naruto. But by the end of the chapter, they also present the idea that the other person he really cares about is Boruto. It's just that dynamic of, to protect his number one person, he has to fight his number two person, and that's the drama of the situation here for Kawaki. So Kawaki begins to understand his powers here, and Kawaki does say, shouldn't you be focusing on staying still, Lord Seventh? Not that I care what happens to him. So he even says it here. I don't really care what happens to Shikamaru. So obviously Code is pretty fine to see this fight happen in front of him. He just doesn't want Naruto to do anything when it comes to getting Shikamaru back. So how far are you planning to go, Kawaki? And we see some of the doubts, I suppose, begin to come into play. I'll do what needs to be done for you. Very significant there. For you. I'm doing this for you, Naruto. So Momoshiki attacks here with the Rasengan, blocked, and we get some action here of just, a lot of kind of jutsu absorption, a little bit of taijutsu, Kawaki using the body augmentations in taijutsu as well. Some shuriken get thrown and so on, and it's not super over the top, but it's presented in a way that makes this very, very intense, because it's between Kawaki and Boruto. Even though Boruto isn't in control right here, it is between these two characters. This is sort of the Naruto and Sasuke of this generation. That's what they're going for here. So yeah, the fight continues over the next couple of pages. The first big hit is landed here where Kawaki uses sort of the Ishiki signature move of making the kind of the rods appear in people's arms and just immediately impaling them. The most devastating move here. And Boruto is about to be crushed by one of the cubes when Naruto dives in and saves him. So he saves Momoshiki, but he also saves his son in this. So Code is like, oh, Naruto moved, but there's no point in killing you now. Let's wait and see. He's just like, what's going on here? Kawaki now has the powers of Ishiki. Momoshiki is here. I just want to see what happens. Like, Code's plan almost feels like, secondary to just the extent to which the character drama here is going on. So the intensity starts to come out here. That's enough, Kawaki. Are you really planning to kill him? I told you I'm doing what needs to be done. It's do or die now. Title there of the chapter. Don't be ridiculous. He's my son. Yes, but at the same time, he's a demon who is targeting your life. So, again, that gets the idea of, the whole idea of he positions Naruto as the one he cares about the most. And even though he has this strong relationship with Boruto, it is fundamentally Naruto who is the one he wants to protect and will do anything for. That's what the last, years worth of chapters have been building towards. It's just this obsession now that he has with protecting Naruto. Have you lost your mind? You're the one who's becoming a demon. Now, that is interesting coming from Naruto. Just the fact that, I suppose, demon, I think, was one of the words he was called early on in the series because he had the nine-tailed fox inside him. I can't remember if it was just monster or, if the word demon was used as well. But it's interesting Naruto saying that to him. I think they're more just presenting the idea of, you are going down a path that I don't approve of to save me. Are you okay with this? He says that doesn't matter. The real issue here is that you aren't able to do it yourself, so I'll do it. Move aside. You gotta be joking, cool your head. No, you're the one who needs to face reality. There is no other way. So then we see Naruto gets sort of knocked aside, and we see that it's Boruto who is back. But he's sort of, you can tell there's a fight between him and Momoshiki for control here. So he gets to his feet, are you back with us? And we see the kind of dialogue back and forth. Damn, Brad, you should stay asleep for your own good. You stay asleep. Quit interfering. So I like this. Amado's meds do seem to work. I've been able to control Momoshiki's power to an extent, but it's only temporary. It's far from a solution. I mean, just look at what just happened. Talk about some awful side effects. I came this close to killing my own dad, and this is the really shocking moment here of the reality of the situation is coming to kind of bear here quite heavily. That I suppose Boruto is this close to being at the point where he can't control Momoshiki, and once the extraction is finished, Momoshiki will be able to fully take over Boruto's body, and then he'll just be a complete threat. So the chapter is building and building to big dramatic things will need to be done to fix this situation, because the meds are only a temporary solution, and we've seen that now. How else is this going to work? So we go to the past. Boruto, do you remember what I once said to you? I'll somehow get rid of your karma, I swear it. Oh yeah, I remember. And I've come to realize today that we're going to have to go through with our last resort plan. Yeah, unfortunately. So what is this? I'm sorry, Dad. Give my best to Mom and Hina. Wait. No, wait. What are you planning to do? Don't do anything rash. But Boruto just wind-style gale palms Naruto out of the way. It's not super aggressive here. It's just enough to kind of temporarily blow Naruto back. It's not, I think, any statement about the power level between the two of them. It's just a dramatic moment between father and son, and he's got his guard down and gets blown back. Just enough for Kawaki to do what he's about to do. So that's interesting. And then I take it you're ready, Boruto. And this is where we get, Naruto trying to charge in last minute to fix this. You're the only one I can ask this of. So while my mind is still holding Momoshiki at bay, do it, bro. And so we get the kind of final few pages here. Kawaki charges in and just completely impales Boruto with his augmented arms, so the sort of spines. It's a really, really devastating attack here. Like, this is not just like being impaled by a sword. Like, it's the thickness of Kawaki's sort of augmented arm here goes straight through Boruto. And we see the reaction shot from Naruto, Shikamaru, Ada, and he flies to the ground. And we end with what seems to be a dead Boruto on the ground. Now, this is where we immediately get into, like, is he just flat out dead on the spot? Is he dying? I think they'll give him some last words here at the very least, depending on what they're going to do. And again, this gets into the idea of Boruto survives somehow. Now, I say survives in question marks in that we just know that the character of Boruto is still present within the story based on the flash forward scene in chapter 1. But the nature of how he got there, we don't exactly know. So the really sort of weak solution to this is that he's alive enough that they get out of this situation, they bring him to like a Sakura, and he's able to be healed from this somehow. That's not particularly satisfying in any way as part of the story. Probably the other maybe weaker solution to this is just that like Momoshiki takes control of the near dead Boruto and like heals him somehow. That also feels like, that's alright, I guess, to maybe get across just how threatening this situation is and that you have to do some crazy damage to kill him. I think most people are leaning more into the direction of, is this going to be a like proper death for Boruto? With the get out of jail card being that the karma can be used for resurrection. Part of the plan going into this was that they could implant it on Code. And again, because they've opened us up to the idea of them doing this sort of storytelling where it makes it look like something hasn't happened, but then they'll reveal it actually has happened. They could reveal that like any moment over the last couple of chapters where Boruto has touched someone, he's implanted the karma mark on them somewhere. Now, that's obviously the most interesting kind of point here of like, because Code, I suppose, is in the grand scheme of the story, Code is the expendable character because we don't know if he's still alive in the future. So he's the character who Boruto could be reborn into if you want to sort of kill off this iteration of the character and have him actually go through a rebirth process. Because what a lot of people have been pointing out is that would allow you to do so much character drama of having chapters where Boruto is dead. Even if you make the audience pretty clear on his revival happening relatively soon, just merely the characters having to react to the fact that Boruto is gone for at least a little bit is a hugely impactful thing. Hinata, Himawari, Sarada, Mitsuki, most of the cast, how Naruto deals with it, how Kawaki deals with it, how the other characters deal with Kawaki now that he has these powers that effectively no one can stand up to. So Kawaki is immediately right up there as like effectively the most powerful character in the series, more or less. So what happens here? The person he's done this for, Kawaki, Naruto, is now going to have major issues with him over this. And a lot's going to depend on how understanding or not they are of this situation. And I think it's probably going to have need Sasuke to arrive, because Sasuke was willing to do this for Boruto as well. And if he arrives on the scene and sort of sees what has happened, there's a sense for like, okay, I can see where they're going here. And then if he still has some life left in him, there's always the possibility of just a character there just going like, implant the karma into me. Now, will they do that? Will they not? That'd be a pretty crazy turn of events. Like, what if Sasuke showed up effectively just to sort of take the karma mark from Boruto, to sort of sacrifice himself at a later point so Boruto can survive. There's things like that, because I'd be maybe inclined to believe that, like, maybe, oh, what if Boruto implanted it on Naruto because he did, like, touch him right in the chest earlier on to push him away. But the nature of how the flash forward scene goes is that Kawaki has sort of sent Naruto somewhere to keep him safe, I guess, is very interesting. So a lot really just depends on what exact approach they take here. But I do feel it's one of the more interesting endings to a chapter we've had in a while, in that I actually think there's a good amount to speculate on here. So, good chapter. I just hope the manga doesn't take an approach going forward of doing this sort of fake out storytelling too much, because it was sort of frustrating to have so long on the Amado Kawaki with the karma mark thing, and only to reverse it here and reveal that, oh, this is what actually happened. I hope they don't do that sort of storytelling too much. But yeah, big chapter. It makes chapter 67 is now going to be so exciting. So very eager to get the next chapter. But in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on this chapter and what I had to say about it. But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.